We are starting with a very interesting topic, that is on NMR spectroscopy, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, which is an electromagnetic spectroscopy just like UV and IR, and hope you will learn a lot from this video. First of all, let's understand that NMR spectroscopy basically involves three name: nucleus, magnetic, and resonance. Just like UV and IR spectroscopy, NMR spectroscopy is also electromagnetic, but the basic difference is that in NMR we involve the nucleus, the flipping of nucleus is involved, and in case of UV and IR there is transition of electrons in one form or the other. One basic thing, the first thing, that is nucleus, that should be such which has some resultant nuclear spin. Means the atomic number or the mass number, that should be one should be even and other should be odd. And the nuclei with I value greater than 0, only such nuclei are NMR active. And luckily, hydrogen is such nucleus which has I value 1/2, and so it is NMR active. Similarly, C13 nucleus, N15 nucleus, or F19 nucleus, all these are NMR active nuclei. Next. Now, I have told you that the basic first point is nucleus, and nucleus should be such which is NMR active and for which the condition is I should be greater than 0. When I is greater than 0 and such nucleus is placed in external magnetic field, then it creates magnetic spins whose value is equal to 2I plus 1. For example, say for hydrogen, because I is 1/2 and put the value of I 1/2, then two spin states are created. 2I plus 1 comes out to be 2, and these are denoted as plus half and minus half. Now, first thing was nucleus. When such nucleus is not placed in some external magnetic field, then these two spin states plus and minus half, they exist, but they lie random and there is no energy difference between two. So, when such nucleus is placed in external magnetic field, which is of course denoted by H0, but in NMR the word M, that stands for external magnetic field. So, when such nuclei are placed in external magnetic field, these two spin states, they start separating and start orienting themselves either aligned with the external magnetic field or against the magnetic field. Now the difference of energy is created between these two spin states, and that difference of energy of course depends upon the external field which we apply. More the applied field, more the energy gap between the two spin states. So if we want to clearly visualize the signal, we should apply appreciable amount of external magnetic field so that the energy gap between the two spin states is appreciable and we can see the signal properly. Now there is a very common simple formula you all know, ki delta E, that is equal to h nu. Here h nu, h is Planck's constant and nu is the frequency. Now in case of nucleus, you will see in the next slide, in case of nucleus, this nu is not the simple frequency, this is actually the precessional frequency. Precessional motion can be understood like the motion of the top, spinning top, that not only spins about its axis, it rotates also. So just like that, the nucleus is also showing precessional movement and it creates precessional frequency. And that precessional frequency that is dependent on the external magnetic field, and this delta E is related to the external magnetic field by the formula you can see in this slide, delta E is equal to h nu, that is clear, and again that is equal to gamma h naught upon 2 pi. Now let me clarify you what these symbols denote. Gamma is the gyromagnetic constant, it's a ratio, and for every nucleus it is fixed. Say for proton, जो हम हाइड्रोजन न्यूक्लियस की बात कर रहे हैं, for say हाइड्रोजन न्यूक्लियस, its value is 26,750. So it's fixed for every nucleus, and we can just remember for proton this is 26,750. H is Planck's constant, you know its value, pi is a constant, and now we can see the relation left over is only between nu and h naught, that is frequency is directly related to h naught. So as I have already told you, more the applied field strength, more is the precessional frequency, and so more is the delta E value, and the signal is originated depending upon the energy gap between the two spin states. So till now we have learned that in NMR, nucleus should be NMR active, for which I value should be greater than 0. Secondly, M stands for external magnetic field. The nuclear spin states are generated only when external magnetic field is applied. And third is now resonance. So what do we mean by resonance? Now we know that there is energy gap between two spin states, and flipping can occur. Flipping means excitation of nucleus from lower spin state to higher spin state. This flipping can occur only when we supply that requisite amount of energy in form of the external radiations, and these external radiations which are required in NMR spectroscopy are the radio waves, and those radio waves are supplied to the made to fall on the nucleus. When energy gap of the two spin state matches with the radio frequency which we are making to fall on the nucleus, then resonance occurs and flipping occurs, and that gives rise to the signal. And you can see signal intensity that depends upon the hydrogen nuclei present in the sample, and the external field strength that is shown. Now I have written high field, low field. That means where the signal is appearing. Now in case of the new molecules, say for methane, in ethane, in ethyl chloride, we get different signals and they appear at different field strength, and that denotes that some signal appear at high field and some signals appear at low field. So till now this was about the basic principle that NMR spectroscopy involves nuclei which create spin states, and in presence of external magnetic fields these spin states fall apart, there is energy gap, and that energy difference when matches with the external radio frequency waves, then flipping occurs, it gives rise to signal in NMR spectroscopy. So I hope till now you have understood basic principle of NMR spectroscopy. Thank you.